October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so in today's checklist, we are going over what to do after a breast cancer diagnosis. Dr. Marisa Weiss is a radiation oncologist and founder and chief medical officer of breastcancer.org. It's a nonprofit organization, an education support organization, and she's also a breast cancer survivor of 14 years. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Happy to have you back. And you also obviously have an interesting perspective because you're a survivor of 14 years and then you're also in the space.
Exactly. And I had the best care possible, but there were still major gaps.
There were blind spots.
Yes. And I started breastcancer.org so that people can find the medical expertise and support they need, so that they can each get the best care possible.
Well, I have to be honest, we do a lot of stories on awareness, but I don't think we've done anything on what happens if you get the diagnosis. So let's talk about some of the questions that you should ask. You know, there's the shock value there for you and your family.
Well, absolutely. And this affects so many people. It's the most common cancer to affect women. 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed. That's 2.3 million cases globally. And we're just finding out it's happening more in young women.
I don't even know the difference to this with this top question.
Right. I mean, the thing is that even though it's the most common cancer, it ends up being the biggest collection of rare diseases since each person's situation is so unique. You want to get the answers to these key questions because your treatment is based on it. So you want to know, is it invasive or not? Is it still within the milk duct in which it started, or is it broken through? How big or small is it? Are there lymph nodes involved? And if so, how many? And no matter what we find, we can do something about it. So don't be afraid to ask these questions.
Okay.
We want to know, is it slow growing or fast growing? Are there receptors there for estrogen and progesterone, or this thing called HER2? And we also get genetics of the cancer itself. Those tests tell us what kind of treatments you might need and be able to pick the therapies as well.
So to that point, speaking of what kind of treatments are out there, what should we know about the latest treatments that are available?
I mean, the good news is that treatment has come so far. It used to be one size fits most, and now we have personalized, tailored treatment plans for each individual situation. And so we have local treatments that focus on the breast and the lymph nodes, like surgery that removes part or all of the breast and looks at the lymph nodes. Then we have radiation that sort of cleans up after in case there are any cancer cells left behind. Is more targeted than it ever was. And the treatment courses are shorter than they used to be, which is good news. And then there are medicines like the chemotherapy that kills cancer cells, hormonal therapies that shut down the growth of cancers that like hormones. And then there are these immunotherapies that find and destroy cancer cells, like Herceptin that finds the HER2 gene abnormality in cells, and some of these new things that we're talking about.
Okay.
Well, you say, doctor, that it's so important to get a second opinion, to be your own advocate. But can that be difficult in that it's tough enough to get the initial diagnosis and see a doctor, and now trying to get to a second or third doctor's got to be
right. It can be, you know, as a breast cancer survivor myself, it is overwhelming, but you need to find your voice and speak up. And it's okay and smart, actually, to get a second opinion. You have time. Breast cancer is not an emergency. It's an urgency. But you still need to take the time you need to get the information you need to know, assemble your team, and establish a treatment plan. And a second opinion is something that is helpful to many people in that way. You know, many people these days, about half of people who get mammograms find out that they have dense breasts. And that is associated with a somewhat higher risk of breast cancer. But it also means that it's harder to find a cancer if it's in there, like trying to find a polar bear in a blizzard. So you might need extra tests like ultrasound and MRI.
We know breast cancer prevention is paramount. Really quickly, can you take us through the list of what we need to know, starting with, obviously, getting your mammogram?
Right. Well, breastcancer.org, we say get your annual mammogram starting at age 40. But if you're at higher than average risk, like if you have a strong family history or a known inherited genetic abnormality, you may need to start at an earlier age and get like ultrasound and MRI and more often. And then there are steps that you can take to lower your risk in your everyday life, like getting to and sticking to a healthy weight. Not easy, but it's, you know, it's worth the work. Eating well, a vegetarian-based diet, exercise, limiting alcohol, since the more you drink, the higher the risk, and stopping smoking. And there are a lot of other steps that you can take that help. And we heard about the vaccines earlier today. The promise of that is maybe we can prevent breast cancer before it ever has a chance to occur. And you need to participate in clinical trials in order to get access to that and for us to learn about what the future could be so that the next generations hopefully never have to see this disease.
Amen. Amen. Dr. Weiss, thank you. So happy you're here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on our streaming channel, Today All Day. To watch, head to today.com/allday or click the link right here.